Everyone, today is August 17th, and welcome to the biweekly SIG Instrumentation call. We have a bunch of topics on the agenda, so Han, why don't you take the first one?
Yeah, so I'm kind of working a little bit on some API machinery stuff, and there is some metrical related work. So, all right, at a high level, the thing I'm working on is upgrades, like Kubernetes upgrades. And today, upgrades are kind of borked. We have a number of different ways to upgrade Kubernetes clusters. We have like CAPI, we have kube admin, and a lot of like ad hoc things. I think Red Hat rolled their own upgrade mechanism. But a lot of these things are non-deterministic. And the sequence for upgrades is like not super well defined. So like if you look at version skew, like we have version skew documentation, and it basically tells you like which edges need to be traversed first in an upgrade. But this is like hidden in version skew information, which is a little bit weird. So like for instance here. I'll share it in the chat. This is the version skew, supported version skew. And so like we say stuff like, okay, like kube proxy must not be newer than kube API server. That means you can't upgrade kube proxy before kube API server. That's what it means. That means like literally when you are upgrading a cluster, there is an order and you must abide by that order, right? So I would like to make the upgrade sequence more explicit. And I would like to make it more systematic. And one of the things I want is to be able to health check during parts. Why is there an AI assistant?
I don't know, but it gets added to all the
I
meetings.
think we should put them in the waiting room.
They've been in our previous meetings as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's just weird. So the thing I would like is to be able to health check. So we have these component SLI metrics, right? So these give us the healthiness information of a Kubernetes component in metric format. So if instrumentation were willing to create some sort of tool that could scrape a Prometheus endpoint and then do some statistical analysis between like two windows of time, like 5 minutes before an upgrade and 5 minutes after an upgrade, and then compare the two to see if they're statistically different, then basically we could have a way of health checking between each stages of the upgrade cycle. I think that would be desirable, because otherwise we're just upgrading blind.
Where would you put that tool? Would it be a running operator? Because like
it would be in
OpenShift, that's
space,
what we kind of have. Yeah, but would it be like a one-time tool that you just run after the upgrade, or would it be a running operator to install on your cluster that would report deals?
I mean, initially, I think I would just create a tool that was not an operator, just some Go program that like could scrape a Prometheus endpoint and then collect metrics data and then plot it over time. And then I would build the part that does the statistical analysis. And then I would think about where it goes, right? Because you can shove it into an operator, you can shove it anywhere, right? So like that's kind of the way I would proceed.
Could we just use Chrome tool for this? Like, an IDE for...
The problem with Prometheus is we'd have to bring in all of Prometheus in order to do this. I'm not sure we want to do that. Yeah, it would be huge, right? Like you don't want to drag in the entire Prometheus server. I mean, you can run a Prometheus server. That's definitely an option, right? You can run a Prometheus server in memory without persisting stuff. You can do that. But that eats up a lot of memory, and we're running literally a Prometheus server. So that seems a little heavy.
It seems to me like what you want in the end is some kind of dashboard that would track what's happening during an upgrade.
I just want something that will scrape an endpoint for like 10 minutes and then return like degraded if we have like less healthy signals afterwards.
Here's an idea.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could write something that scrapes the endpoint and adds a pod status based on the result. Or sorry, adds a pod condition. So any operator that wants to know if metrics are healthy could look at that. Like if you wanted to integrate
you mean bundle it in the component itself?
Well,
so it scrapes itself?
Unclear if this, I don't think you would want this, but it would be like whatever's doing the, yeah, you're right. We need something that scrapes the endpoint, and then you're basically saying that a Prometheus metric isn't the right signal for operators to consume. Is that, like, that's the basic problem?
Well, you need something that can parse the Prometheus metric and then convert it to something that you can manipulate in, Golang, right? Like,
yeah,
we need well, what we need is like a representation of a time series, like basically, right? But I don't want to drag in the entire Prometheus server, which is just, it seems a little excessive.
Right. Well, I mean, the other way to do it would be, instead of writing a Prometheus metric, like update your pod status or something. Sorry. Lawnmowers. Because like, if I'm an operator, the easiest thing for me to check would be like a pod condition or something like that. I guess my question is, if
no, but I mean, like, it's a little, pod conditions are a little bit weird. Like, what if you have static pods? Yeah, it just, like mirror pods, you can't really do anything.
And even the pod would already be degraded, no? If the upgrade triggers
if it's
an issue.
It's a little weird.
Like what you want essentially, Anne, is to really know which endpoint is now degraded and not like which pod. Like if some endpoint, let's say, are degraded, we want to know that.
I mean, there's a couple of ways. I think the thing that David was kind of hinting at earlier kind of makes sense. I mean, we could bundle it in the components themselves, right? I mean, this is where we put this code is orthogonal to the code itself, right? Like we can create this library, it can do this thing, and it can just be some Grow program, right? With unit tests. And then we can decide to put in an operator or bundle it inside the component itself and expose some like REST endpoint so that we can hit it and know if it's like healthy, like given some time interval, so like measure itself or something.
Would we ever want to fail the pod if the health check endpoint isn't returning correctly? Because the other option would be to write like a readiness probe or something that checks this endpoint.
I mean, the problem is when it's flapping, right? Because like it could be healthy.
Like it would be cool to delegate this problem essentially to the kubelet, right? This like what we're sort of asking for is something that is able to tell me if this particular endpoint is working correctly, and then give me some like Kubernetes signal. Or maybe I'm misunderstanding the problem.
Maybe the kubelet is the right place for this. Let me think about it. But what about the kubelet itself? Because we also need this for the kubelet.
True.
And oh yeah, so we can't bundle in the components themselves because the components are going to be restarted. So we're not gonna have any. We can't just keep it in memory. It has to be an external component, which is not upgraded over the time that the control plane is upgraded.
Aren't we just adding a new upgrade dependency? Where
I mean, there has to be an upgrade dependency.
like there has to be a thing that isn't monitored by this, right? Or that monitors itself. There has to be a bottom turtle.
What we do in OpenShift for this kind of use cases where we have static pod is that we run a sidecar next to it that would monitor via localhost the health of the component. Let's say Kube API server, we have a sidecar next to it that would verify, let's say, if the network connection works properly, and then reports a status back, and then you can infer like what's happening.
So it's like a version of what I'm suggesting, but it sounds like it's less built out than I would like. Because like I basically want to compare time windows and make sure that they're statistically similar. Like I want to make sure it did not get any worse. Not
oh yes, so you would need to have the static pod run. Oh yeah, it wouldn't work because the sidecar wouldn't run before the upgrade and wouldn't stick during the upgrade. So yeah, maybe the easiest is, so my other idea was with an operator, you could create a CR that, let's say, is a target. You have various targets, let's say API server kubelet. These, like you would just have the operator monitors the metric over time. Let's say you store the metric in memory and then you do some computation and then return a status inside of the CR itself. And then you can basically know from the CR status what's the health of each component, or even like create new metrics that would work as well in the operator.
We could theoretically have a controller which records health checks.
Yep.
And then basically truncates and only keeps in like 10 minutes of health check information in the CRD so that doesn't explode. So that it basically just truncates from the oldest health checks and then replaces them with the newest ones. And then we basically end up having the data in a ingestible format, CRDs. We just read the CRD. That could work.
And like it's not really a problem, like unless you scale to enormous size. Like in metric server, for example, we already store metrics in memory and then do computation on them like without talking to Prometheus at all. So that could be something that could be done like in another component as well. And then you just return the status depending on what you see.
I mean, if we recorded this stuff in a CRD, the components themselves can self-report. Because they can report their health status before an upgrade and then after an upgrade, and it will be persistent to the CRD. And so
I see what you mean.
Yeah, that would actually just kind of work, I think.
We could even have an aggregated API for that. So that they just, oh no, we would need the API server to be up then.
Yeah, we need
or
the
in
API
any case, we would need it to be up.
Yeah, but we're expecting gaps here
during the
upgrade cycle. Yeah, we're expecting gaps in the upgrade cycle. So we have to be, we're just comparing the before and after upgrade windows. Okay, let me think about this more. You guys gave me some good ideas. Let me flesh it out a little bit more. We have other topics, so we should probably move on.
Yeah.
Pranshu, do you want to take the next one?
Yeah. So during a call earlier, and David already opened an issue for this, so we want to add exemplar support for counters and histograms for starters. So I raised the PR, but it seems right now Prometheus only supports doing this in an open matrix format. So if you will, so I'll just paste this link. I'll try not to paste a bunch of different links, but just the important ones. So this one basically shows the fact that this open matrix thing is only implemented for this particular format, and the open matrix is the only format that supports exemplars right now. So we want to move away from open metrics and not depend on it because it's being archived. It's in the PR, the link is in the PR. I just posted as well. But yeah, so people are moving away from open metrics, and I think this thread was recently updated, so that can happen at any given time. But yeah, yes, Sam.
So I was wondering what David thought, because like the situation is that we can only support exemplars in open metrics, and Prometheus proto format doesn't actually expose exemplars. And Prometheus proto format, like Prometheus text format, definitely doesn't support exemplars. I don't think it's supported in the spec. Prometheus proto format could support exemplars, but does not. And it's reviving. Prometheus proto format has was deprecated in the past, and then they just like resurrected it recently.
Yeah, because it's hard to
because
encode
of the native histogram
exponential, native histograms.
Yeah, native histograms. So we have an opportunity here, I think, to add exemplar support to Prometheus proto format, and then we can actually have. My question is like, if we go through the Prometheus proto format, is there a way to consume these metrics in a streaming format instead of no?
Not without breaking some of Prometheus's current guarantees.
No, but we already break them.
I know we Google do, but we
Open telemetry collector does.
Yeah, but OTel's different. OTel isn't the Prometheus server.
Yeah, but people use OTel collector to send stuff to Prometheus server, no?
They do, yeah.
Yeah,
Or,
so
no, well,
I mean, it still breaks stuff.
People, sorry, the OTel collector uses the Prometheus server as a library.
Yeah.
And then does a bunch of other things that the Prometheus server doesn't do.
Including breaking the protocol.
Server doesn't break the protocol.
Well, it batches.
After. So Prometheus guarantees that a single transaction within the Prometheus server, it has all the metrics from a scrape, right? Now, OTel, when it gets a transaction, says, yeah, I don't care about this. I'm going to do some other batching before I send it somewhere else, right? So essentially, it's still it's still an invariant that Prometheus provides, but OTel doesn't care about it. That doesn't mean that Prometheus can generally stop providing that as an invariant.
And just to mention,
I'm saying that like we're already breaking that invariant with Open Telemetry Collector, and so you don't end up with that invariant in Prometheus server because you're sending stuff in batches.
No, Prometheus server does not batch. Prometheus server writes transactions to its TSDB.
Yeah, but if you're using OTel collector to send to Prometheus server, you're still batching.
That's not a common scenario.
Oh, that's not, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, to get back to it. I'm actually not sure. I don't know, Pranshu, if you know, if exemplars are already legally valid in Prometheus text format. My understanding was that anything that comes after a pound signal is considered a comment, including like type and help information. And exemplars are the same thing, but just happen to be a comment on the metric line. So it's not actually clear to me if that's something that could be done or not, given the current Prometheus format.
So the only other format that's being, I think, that does any computation is just the chains on text one, and that doesn't really that doesn't even fetch exemplar data at all. So pasting it here. But the only format that actually fetches that and uses the whole pseudo definitions is the open metrics one. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but the open metrics format is super broken in Prometheus, and it's not even really being fixed because now it's archived, so we can't even use it. It's basically like a
And-
deprecated format.
Yeah, and just to mention, OTEL has a different interpretation of exemplars. So if down the line, if we aim to be compatible or something, then because so we have this, I suppose we are kind of closely tied to Prometheus in component base, but OTEL is the kind of leading example for exemplars right now, and based on the thread as well, where they propose that they would rewrite this based on the OTEL spec, but I don't know when that's going to happen. But if that happens in the future, then this particular format, this interpretation of OTEL for exemplars is something that we might want to consider.
So there are differences between the exemplar definitions, but they're very close, and they can be converted one-to-one. So there's no like, the representations are slightly different. Mostly OTEL explicitly has fields for trace ID and span ID, whereas Prometheus says those are just attributes that are part of the bucket of attributes. But otherwise, I think they're basically the same.
I mean, do we want to consider switching collectors? We have the wrappers, so we could get rid.
I'm not concerned about the collectors. I'm concerned about the format, right? Right now we use Prometheus text format essentially throughout the Kubernetes code base, and that doesn't support exemplars. So we either need to add it or switch to open metrics or something else.
I mean, we could basically have a dual implementation where a flag value would determine whether or not you get OpenTelemetry format. Like if we were to swap out, we could swap it out and maintain the Prometheus thing. If that makes sense.
We could consider that.
That's a big effort though.
I think the first thing to investigate would probably to ask the Prometheus client Go maintainers, maybe Bartek, if
Bartek's on paternity leave for like.
That's right. That's exciting. So we'll ask someone different than
I can ask some people if you want.
Yeah, ask if we can add exemplars to the text format. Because right now it doesn't look like they're parsed either.
They're not parsed. Yeah,
no, they're not.
Adding it to the text format would be the best, right? That would just work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And I know if there's my understanding is that they're strongly considering switching back to the proto format, but that they haven't it hasn't become a thing yet. Them being the Prometheus community.
Well, I mean, if we were to adopt it, they would have to keep it. Yeah. I mean, Kubernetes being one of the biggest users of Prometheus, it's a huge project and everyone uses it. So it ends up being a huge user.
Yeah, and they want us to use exemplars.
Yeah, they want us to use exemplars. So, all right, we have one more topic. We should probably get to it. Okay, so KubeCon EU is the CFP opens on the 18th of September. Yeah, I don't know what the travel budgets are for respective companies, but seems unlikely, at least at Google, that they will allow us to go overseas on the company dime. So, yeah, but those of you who are interested, yeah, if you have some talk ideas, email any of the leads. We're happy to submit stuff for you or including you or whatever. Oh,
Yeah,
who's,
I guess
who's-
we'll have like, as per usual, we will have the maintainer track, but
Yep.
the CFP for the maintainer track is like later than the normal
little
date,
later,
and we
yeah.
don't really know when it is today. But if you want to submit any other talk, yeah, feel free to, like, if you have any question or want us to review, feel free to reach out. We can always help.
I think tentatively, a bunch of us are going to the North America KubeCon.
Yep.
Tentatively, but
Tentatively.
we don't have confirmation on our side yet either.
Yeah, me neither.
But they're trying to allow people to go to KubeCon in North America, I think. So I think we should be fine, but we'll see. All right, I think that's it for the topics. Yeah, code thaw is in effect, though 1.2.9 has not started yet, so they'll probably start in a couple weeks. So if you guys have like new KEP ideas, like maybe introducing open telemetry collector and doing the forking idea, or the tool for determining healthiness of a component, yeah, now would be a good time to start on those.
Cool.
One would could be fun as well would be to investigate the new histograms. That's
Yeah, native histograms. Be fun.
that's a complex one, but yeah, native histogram can be quite.
But is it supported in text format?
No,
It's not, right?
Yeah.
that would be so verbose.
Yeah, it's
It's
not.
not?
So
Oh,
no,
it's
that's
only,
why they
so,
reintroduced the
so
proto.
in which format is it supported?
Yeah, they
Proto.
reintroduced the proto format specifically for native
Oh,
histogram.
it's just in
That's the
proto
thing.
format.
Yeah,
Ah.
so I don't think we can even, like, I don't know how much exploration there is because we're kind of tied to the text format. And the
Yeah.
thing that makes the most sense to me is actually doing the fork idea between OpenTelemetry Collector and Prometheus and allowing people to have the option of switching their metrics to OpenTelemetry format.
Yeah, but if we have a difference in features, it might be annoying to maintain. I don't know. Like if it's,
Yeah.
I mean, we could have
start
unsupported
exploring
metrics. We
exemplars.
can literally bypass some metrics which are not supported and just be like, you
Oh
don't
yeah,
get
we could do that for sure. But
yeah. So
I think we definitely need to keep one API. I don't want people using two different like code interfaces for recording metrics. And if we do support OTel or something, then we are signing up for supporting it forever, because that's essentially what happened with Prometheus text format. So I think we do need to be careful, but it is ironic that OpenMetrics supports exemplars, which we want, and the proto format supports native histograms, which we also want, but we don't have crossover. So.
Yeah.
All right. I think we should probably call
Yeah,
it
we check with the maintainers.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone for taking the time today. And we will see you in a week in the bug scrub.
Yep. Bye, everyone.
See you.